so let me continue with the session. Yes. So good evening everyone. I welcome everyone to this online internship program on IoT and machine learning. So we are on the week 3, day 1. So myself, Isaki Raja, working in VA Solution as senior application engineer. Okay, from today I'm going to take over this online internship program. Okay, so we'll see what is today's agenda. Then we'll be proceeding with our internship program. Okay, so today's agenda we have kept it as 2 sections. So in first section we are going to continue with our real-time object tracking. So yesterday we have seen real-time object tracking, right? We are going to continue with the same one. Okay, in section 2 we are going to see machine learning concept, that is supervised learning, one type of machine learning concept. Okay, in that we are gonna create a signal classifier application. Okay, so in that we have subdivisions, that is like pre-processing and sample collection. Then second stage will be train, pre-process, sample, and third stage will be deployed model and post-process and classifications. Okay, these are the things will come under this signal classification application. Okay, then let me move to our section 1. As I already told you, in section 1 we are going to continue with our object tracking. Okay, so hope everyone have that yesterday's VA, so I'll directly open the VA. Okay, fine. Yes, so here I have my VA. Let me open that. So yesterday we have completed the code, but we can't able to give a demo, so I'll explain this code once. Okay, then we'll see how this code is working. Okay, so as you know, the first block, this is just to open a reference for AVI file. Okay, so before that let me verify the file path. Okay, so I'll right click on file path constant. Let me click browse for path. Okay, so yes, D drive internship. Yeah, here is my AVI file. Okay, so I'll choose this video file. Let me click save. Okay, so I have selected my correct file path. Okay, so this is just to open a reference for my AVI video. Okay, and as you know already, so first I need to select an object to track. So that is the reason why we are using this while loop. Okay, so this while loop is just to select our tracking file, tracking object. Okay, so in this loop what you are doing is just we are reading the 0th frame. Okay, we are reading the 0th frame. Here you can able to see this terminal is frame number terminal. Okay, so for that we have created a constant. This loop will continuously display 0th frame until I press this track button. Okay, so this loop will be continuously displaying 0th frame, and as video is also an image, we have to create a memory for this AV file also. That is the reason here we are using IMAC create function. We are reading in color format. That's why we have created a constant as RGB, and for the image we have given a memory name as memory 01. Okay, so this is just to create a memory for an AVA file. Okay, so next you can able to see, once if I select an object, okay, in our video, right, it will be displaying 0th frame. In that we will draw an ROI. Okay, so ROI is nothing but we are going to select our tracking file. I want to read the coordinates, those coordinates. Okay, so to read those coordinates we have created this ROI block. Okay, if I double tap on this, you will get to know it will highlight this image indicator. That means I have created this ROI for this image indicator. Okay, from this image indicator I'm going to read the ROI coordinates. Okay, so this ROI coordinates we are sending to a tracking function, that is add tracking object. So let me move this little bit. Okay, so this whole block is just to read the 0th frame and select the tracking object. Okay, once after we are selecting our tracking object, right, we have to proceed with our tracking program. Okay, so as usual, first we need to create the reference. What are the operation we do, right? We need to create the reference. So here we are using create object tracking session. This is just to create the reference. And the second one is a tracking method. Okay, we are choosing the tracking method, and here we have connected through to set the tracking object. Okay, so this is just for opening the reference, and here we are choosing the tracking method. And the third one, okay, in the third one actually we are going to add the which object we are going to track. Here the two terminal is from which image you want to choose the template, and ROA is nothing but what is the coordinate of the object in that image indicator. Okay, those two information we must need to specify to this function, then only the object will get added. Okay, fine. So here till this part, these three functions, right, these three functions will be used to just to add the reference, and we are choosing the tracking option, and we are adding the object which we want to track. Okay, the main tracking functionality are going to come in this for loop. Okay, so in this for loop, what you are going to do, right, we are going to perform two things. First one will be we want to play the video. Okay, so first we want to play the video, and then in that video we have to track our object. Okay, so before we are going to play a video, first we must know what should be the number of frames in our video, right? So then only I can make my loop to run for the specified number of time. For that reason, you can able to see here we have used an AVA function. Okay, so IMAC AVA get info function. So this function will help us to get the total number of frames. This terminal, if I move my cursor towards the terminal, right, you can able to see the terminal name is number of frames. So that terminal will help us to get the total number of frames in my AVA file. Okay, so I can make my for loop to run for those number of times to display all the frames. Okay, so yes, we'll get into the loop. Okay, so inside the loop we are using AVA readFrame function. Okay, so this function will help me to get the video. So yes, so here you can able to see to the frame number terminal I have connected I. Okay, that means each iteration my I value will be incrementing by 1. Okay, so I can able to make my video to flow in a sequence. So that's why if my loop runs for n times, right, I value will give from 0 to n minus 1. I can able to display all the frames. Okay, so the frame data will come out from this terminal, this image out terminal. Okay, so that using the data only I'm going to track my object. Okay, so this function you can able to see IMAC track object function. Okay, so we'll check what are the terminals are available. Here you can able to see first I need to pass the reference that I have taken from add track object. The second one is I have to feed the image in which I want to track. Okay, so I want to track an object in my AVA file, so that's why I'm passing this AVA video, whatever the data I'm reading from AVA file, right, that I'm passing it to this image terminal. Okay, so again this will give me the duplicate memory of that image, so that I'm connecting to the same indicator using local variable. Okay, along with this we'll get the object. So the object is nothing but the tracking objects property, the object we want to track, right? So those properties will take from this terminals. Okay, so we don't need all the properties, just we want to know what is the position of the object in our video frame. If we know that, right, we can easily track those objects. So we are going to extract two properties. One is whether my object is available in my video or not, and the second one is bounding box. Bounding box is nothing but the 4 coordinates of the object. Okay, so we are extracting these two properties. Okay, and here we have used a case structure. So here we have used case structure. Why? Because we'll track the object only if the object is there in a frame, else we are not going to track it. So that is the reason here we are using case structure. You can able to see if the object found value is false, we are not doing any operation inside the false case, just we are passing the image data. Okay, if object found, true case will execute, in true case we are using overlay function. Okay, using this overlay function only, you are going to highlight our object. Okay, so here we have overlay function. Okay, so to this function, if you want to make overlay, right, just you need to specify its coordinate. Okay, so other terminals are like extra functionality. Okay, if you want we can use that, else we can go with the recommended terminals. Just I want to give an input image in which I want to make an overlay and the coordinates. So here I'm going to pass again a video reference only. Okay, the video frame what we are reading, right, that I'm going to give as image input, and the bounding box, the coordinates, right, that is nothing but my tracking object coordinates. Okay, so these two information we have passed to this overlay. So whenever the object detects, right, its coordinate will take out from this terminal, and using this function we are going to make a box overlay. Okay, so we'll see how this code is working. Okay, so let me go to front panel. Okay, I'll run this one. Okay, you can able to see, actually right now it is looking like a normal image. Why? Because it is executing only while loop. I'll make a highlight execution. You can able to see it is keep on executing only the while loop. So it is waiting for us to press the track button. So before that, what I'll do, right, I'll select ROI. I'm going to select this object. Okay, so 1 second. I'll select it again. Okay, I'm going to select this object. So now okay, let it be in a highlight execution, so you'll get an idea. Okay, if I press this track button, you can able to see my execution will come out from the while loop. Yeah, so now it is started executing the tracking function. Okay, so let me come to my front panel. You can able to see this red color box. It is keep on tracking the object what I have selected. This is just an overlay. You don't want to this is just an ROI, you don't want to worry about it. Okay, so let me run this with another object. Okay, let me choose this one. I'll press track. Okay, if I want to remove this green color, right, I can simply right click and I can choose clear ROI. Okay, that is an ROI. This red color box is an overlay. Okay, try to differentiate with this. Okay, so actually right now we are getting as a red color box, right? So think that I don't want a red color box. If you want to change the color, or if you want to change the highlighting option, right, that is also available. Okay, so for that what you are supposed to do is, here you can able to see the two more terminals, that is color and drawing mode. Okay, so first I'll change the color. Okay, I'll create a constant. Okay, you can choose the color. Okay, so let me choose this. Yeah, let me choose this color. Okay, so again I'll run this. I'll come to front panel. I'll run this one. Again I'll choose the same object. Okay, I'll press track. Okay, so it need not to be only red color. Okay, whatever the colors you want, right, you can choose in your overlay function. Okay, so think that you don't want to don't need a box. Instead of that, if you want to hide all options, right, you can able to see one more option, that is drawing mode. So the default value you can able to see it is frame. Okay, so for that let me create a constant. We have one more option called fill. Okay, so let me choose fill. Okay, so I'll run the same object. You can able to, you can completely fill the object. Okay, so using this you can able to hide some object if you want to hide in your video file. Okay, so that is based on your selection only. If you want to bring a box, you can use frame. If you want to hide some object in your video, right, you can choose fill. So that will help us to hide a file in our video. Okay, so this is about tracking. So right now we are tracking using an AV file, right? In the same way, what you can do is you can able to acquire a data using your webcam, or else you can use some other camera interface to your system. We can able to track an object in real time also. Okay, we can able to record, or also we can able to acquire data from camera while it is acquiring a video only, right? We can able to track the object. That is also possible. Okay, so those things we'll see in a future sessions. Okay, so yes, this is about our object tracking. Okay, so before I'm moving to the next session, right, let me check the comment box so that I don't have any queries. Okay, so yes, let me check. Can we process MP4 file on Labby? Because even if we convert into AVI, it is asking for start codec for from the source. Okay, so for AVI file, we have a limited codec support only. Okay, so we'll share those details. If you select those codec, right, you can able to read those AVI file in Labby. Okay, so we'll share those details. Okay, so what is the use of tracking option? Okay, so think that you want to test some defect analysis. You are manufacturing some product. You want to detect the defect. So in those cases, right, you can use this tracking concept in those applications. Okay. So okay, fine. Oh, yes, so unable to read the video file in LabVIEW. Yeah, so we'll say you because it supports only limited code. Okay, we'll tell you what are the code you have to choose while converting. Okay, so can we track more than one object? Yes, that is possible, but that is not possible with machine learning console. Okay, so if you want to track more than one object, right, that is difficult in machine learning. But once we go to deep learning concept, right, we'll see how to track multiple objects. Okay, so that is possible in Labby, but that is difficult to do in machine learning. We'll do the same thing in deep learning. We can able to track multiple objects. Okay, so yes, if the video has any size limit, no, we can able to read with like a 2 hour, 3 hour video also. There is not a limitation because we are going to read frame by frame only, so there is not going to be any issue. So what exactly error in and error out pin will do? Okay, so actually that has two functionality. Okay, so first one is will be used for error handling, and the second reason why we are using error y here, right? So that is for data flow purpose. Okay, so that will give a sequential execution. Okay, think that if I'm not connecting this ROA, so what will happen, right? Before executing the read frame only, it will send the ROA coordinates. Okay, so that should not happen. Okay, so let me show you. Okay, think that my connection was like this. So I'm not connecting an ROA, error wire for an ROA. Okay, in this case, what will happen, right? Before executing AVI file, also ROA might execute because these both are executing parallelly. Okay, so because of this, sometimes this ROI might send some other data. Okay, so that is the reason to execute our function in particular flow, right? We are using an error wire in this type of application. So these are the two reasons why we need an error wire. Okay, so wait, let me check. Whether it is audible to everyone. So still some are saying to increase the volume. Please reply. Okay, so whether it is audible to everyone, so whether I want to increase my volume. Okay, so what is the use of IMAC track option function? Not asking about the use case of tracking. Okay, so here we have different methods. Okay, so based on our application, right, we can choose our method. Whether we can go for traditional mean shift method, or else we can go for shape adapt mean shift method. Okay, so this is the use of this function. And one more thing is yeah, whether we can specify whether I'm going to set or get our tracking object. Okay, so that is the functionality of this object tracking option function. please increase volume. Okay, so let me increase the volume. Whether it is audible now, whether it is audible to everyone. Whether it is audible. So if it is audible, I can move to the next concept. Okay, okay, fine. I hope it is audible to everyone. Yeah. So yes, let me move to the next concept. So yes, we are moving to section 2. So in section 2, as we said, we are going to see about machine learning concept with a signal classifier example. So already you people and our what is machine learning, it might be covered 2 days before, I feel. Okay. So today's concept, right, we are going to see one type of machine learning, that is supervised learning. Okay, so that is the concept we are going to deal today. So basically, what is the supervised learning, right? If you want to make your machine to make a decision, right, you need to teach your machine everything. Okay, so you have to say based on what feature you are going to decide, going to make a decision. Okay, that is what a supervised learning. Okay, so we can't feed a raw data directly to our algorithm. Okay, so we have some data, right, manually we have to extract the feature, we have to train the feature. Okay, based on the features only we are going to perform a classification or any decision making. Okay, so that is about supervised learning. Supervised learning means we have to make a manual feature extraction. Okay, fine. So we'll see the subtopics in the signal classification. Okay, so we are going to do this in 3 stages. Okay, so that means we are going to create a 3 VAs for this. Okay, so first one. So first one will be pre-processing and sample collection. Okay, so that is our first process. So in the first process only we are going to extract the feature, everything. Okay, and the second one, train pre-processed sample. Okay, so we'll in second stage we'll use the pre-processed sample. Okay, we are going to create a model with that pre-processed sample, that is the featured extracted file. Okay, in the third step, okay, we are going to deploy the model. Okay, we'll classify it. After classification also we have to do some post process to get the final result. Okay, so this will be the 3 stages which come in all the application which you want to do with machine learning, especially with supervised learning. Okay, we have to do pre-processing, then we have to train our model with the pre-processed data. Finally we'll go for a deployment. Okay, so yes, we'll see what are the function we are going to do in pre-processing and sample collection. Okay, so here we want to generate a signal, different types of signal. Okay, so first thing what you are going to do is you are going to create a different type of signal, and we are going to decide what are the features we are going to extract from the signal. We can take any features. Okay, so first thing is we have to generate the signal. From the signal we have to extract some features. So here to extract the features we are going to use extract tone function. Okay, so that will be the first process we have to do in stage 1. And the second one is from the extract tone we are going to take 2 features, that is unit frequency and unit amplitude. Okay, I'll tell you why I'm taking this unit frequency and unit amplitude while we are developing the code. Okay, so after taking those features, right, I want to log all those features corresponding to the class. Here class is nothing but different types of signals. Okay, so think that I'm going to classify between sine and square, right? My classes will be sine and square only. Okay, so in LabVIEW our output, in machine learning will call our output as classes. Okay, so we have to save all our features corresponding to its classes. Okay, so these are the three steps we have to do on pre-process and sample collection. Okay, so let me move to the demonstration. Okay, so I'll open LabVIEW. Okay, let me create a new VA. Okay, so the first stage is I want to generate the signal. So using extract tone function, I have to extract features. Okay, so this will be the first stage. So what I'll do, right, I'll right click on my block diagram. If I go to signal processing palette, okay, and waveform generation, okay, signal processing waveform generation, there I can able to see basic function generator function. So using this, right, I can able to generate different types of signal. Okay, so let me place it on my block diagram. Okay, so what I'll do, right, I'm going to create control for the required terminal. What are the terminals we need, right? For those terminals I'm going to create a control. So the first one is I want to change the signal type. In the top first terminal you can able to see signal type. So let me create a control for it. Okay, and next we need a control for frequency and amplitude. So I'm not going to create a control from here, because if I create control from block diagram, right, it will create a numeric control, digital numeric control, but I actually need a knob. So what I'll do, right, I'll go to front panel. I'm going to take a knob. So I'm going to give a label as frequency. Okay, and we can't create a 0 hertz frequency. So what I'll do, right, I'm going to make a minimum frequency value as 10 and maximum, let me set it as 10,000. Okay, so this is the signal frequency what I'm going to generate here. Okay, the next one, I'll take one more knob. Okay, again let me expand its size. I'll change it as amplitude. Okay, so let me put it as amp. Okay, so even here, if I create or generate 0 amplitude signal, right, it will not be visible. So I'll make it as 1. Okay, amplitude minimum value I'll make it as 1. Okay, fine. So what I'll do, right, now I can connect these two terminals to my function. Okay, so let me arrange the label. So first let me connect the frequency, the second one amplitude. Okay, so we are going to vary only these two parameters. Okay, and a very important thing is sampling info. Okay, so we must have to generate twice of my maximum frequency. Okay, my sample should be twice of my signal frequency. Okay, then only this code will run without any error. So what I'll do, right, I'm going to create a constant for sampling info. Okay, so let me enable the label for you. Okay, so Fs is sampling frequency and this is a number of samples. Okay, both I'll make it as 20,000. Okay, so here in my control, my maximum frequency is 10,000. So according to Nyquist theorem, I'm specifying twice of my signal frequency. Okay, fine. So I have specified signal frequency here. So that's it. Okay, so this block will help me to generate different signals. So what I'll do, right, I'm going to take a waveform graph. Okay, so from basic function generator function, you can able to see one terminal as signal out. Okay, from this I'll be connecting to waveform graph. Okay, so right now I have completed only half portion of the step 1. Okay, so just I have generated the signal. Okay, if I run, okay, let me give continuous run right now. Okay, so as my frequency is very high, right, you can't able to see the signal. Okay, right now I have kept my frequency as 10. You can able to see 10 complete cycle. Okay, so while run time, okay, while my code running itself, I can able to change the signal type because I need a functionality like this, because I have to save features of each and every signal type. So while running itself, I must need to change a signal type. That's why I have created a control for signal type. Okay. So we'll move to next stage. So next stage, as I already told you, using an extract tone function, I'm going to extract some features. Okay. So yes, let me right click. I'll go to signal processing. Okay, so in signal processing, you can able to see waveform measure subpalette. Okay, let me go to waveform measure subpalette. There you can able to see extract multiple tone information. Okay, so we are going to use this block only. Okay, extract multiple tone information. Let me take this function. Okay, and to visualize you what are the feature I'm going to extract, right? I'm going to use spectral measurement function. Okay, using that function you will get a clear idea which feature we are going to extract it. Okay, so for that, let me right click. I'll go to express signal analysis. Okay, so here you can able to see a block called spectral measurement. Okay, so this will be in express signal analysis spectral measurement. Okay, let me take this block. Okay, so here I'm going to measure its magnitude. Okay, I want output in linear scale. Okay, so we are going to extract its fundamental frequencies. Okay, we can able to see a fundamental frequency of each signal type using this spectral measurement. Okay, so for that I need to measure its peak amplitude. Okay, and if you see the output in linear scale, right, you will get a clear picture. Okay, that's why I'm going to set a result in linear scale. Let me press OK. Fine. So what I'll do is, let me connect this signal. Okay, then I'm going to see the output of FFT peak in waveform graph. So I'll take one more waveform graph. So I'll change its name as FFT. Okay, so let me connect this one. Okay, and the same way, the same signal, I'm connecting it to extract multi-tone function also. Okay, so I have connected. Right now we are not going to read anything from this extract multi-tone function. Before that, we'll see what are the features we are going to extract using this spectral measurement. Okay, so yes, let me set it to sine waveform and let me run this one. Okay, so you can able to see we are getting some peak. Okay, so actually right now my frequency is 10, so you can't able to see properly. So let me change its value. So let me set around 2000. You can able to see I'm getting a peak. So right, I can't able to set it up properly. So 1 second. Let me stop this. Instead of using a knob, right, what I'll do is I'm going to enable digital display also. So I can able to specify a required value. Okay. So now what I'll do, right, I'll enter 2000. Okay. You can able to see I'm getting single peak exactly at the 2000 because I have kept my frequency as 2000. Okay, and for sine waveform, right, we'll get a single fundamental frequency only. Okay, so we are going to consider this fundamental frequency as one of the feature. Okay, so let me try with a triangle waveform. Okay, so for triangle, but I can change its value. Okay, so I'll choose 1000 so I can able to see the clearly. Okay, so now you can able to see for triangle I'm getting multiple peaks. Okay, so you will get peak actually in the first order of fundamental frequency. That is, you can able to see first peak I'm getting exactly at 1000 frequency. Okay, and a multiple of 1000, 2 into 1000, that is 2000, that is the even fundamental frequency. Okay, so for triangle waveform you will not get a peak in even fundamental frequency. So the next one will be 3 into 1000, that is an odd fundamental frequency. The next peak you will be getting it in 3000. Okay, the next odd fundamental frequency is 5000. So the next peak you can able to see it is getting in 5000. Okay, so right now you can able to see the difference. If you want to extract that, if you want to find the difference between sine and triangle, right, you can easily calculate the number of fundamental frequency. For sine waveform, we'll get only single fundamental frequency. For triangle waveform, we'll get more than one fundamental frequency. Okay, with the help of that, we can easily differentiate two waveform. But actually here, we are going to develop a code for differentiating more than two. So we'll see how it is working for other waveforms. Okay, let me choose square. So even for square also, you can able to see I'm getting fundamental frequencies only on odd tone. Okay, so if I consider only this fundamental frequency tone, right, I can't able to differentiate triangle and square. Why? Because for triangle also I'm getting a peak on odd tone, and for square also I'm getting peak on odd tone. So we can't consider only this feature. We must need to go for a next feature. Okay, we'll see what is the next feature later. Okay, so we'll see how it is working for sawtooth wave. For sawtooth wave, you can able to see I'm getting peak on each and every multiple tones. Okay, you can able to see I'm getting on 1 into 1000 and 2000, 3000. It is not on single tone. I'm going to get output on multiple tones. Okay, so we can able to differentiate sawtooth also with frequency itself. But if you want to differentiate triangle and square, right, only with this feature we can't able to differentiate it. Okay, so we need to go for some other feature. Okay, before that we'll complete our code for extracting a feature of frequency. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll stop this. So here just we have visualized, right? Instead of visualizing, what I'm going to do, right, I'm going to extract its features. Okay, so to extract its features, I'll come to block diagram. So we need to set some properties of our extract multitone function. Okay, the first one is threshold. Okay, threshold is nothing but here we are getting a peak, right? We should say when we have to consider this as fundamental frequency, like here we are getting amplitude, right? We have to specify what should be the threshold to consider this peak as a fundamental frequency. Think that I have specified my threshold as 0.5. Okay, the first peak will get considered, second peak will get considered, but the remaining three peaks, right, that is less than 0.5, so these three will not be considered. So for a better result, what I'll do, right, I'm going to specify a threshold, a very minimum value. Okay, so let it be 0.0001. Okay, so by default its value will be 0.001. Even more I have decreased it. Okay, so I have set a threshold as 0.0001. Okay, and the next one will be you have to specify how many number of tones you want to extract. Okay, so here better I'll go for 4 features. Okay, 4 tones. Okay, so it is need not to be 4. If you want to be more accurate, right, you can increase this number of tone also. Okay, so here what we are going to do is we are going to read the features of 4 beats. Okay, so that's why I have specified 4 tones. Okay, fine. So if I create indicator for this multiple tone information, right, you will get its data. Okay, so let me expand this and let me run this one. So these are the actual features. Okay, so yeah, so here you can able to see deducted amplitude for the first peak. It is around 1.88. Even in your graph you can able to see it was around 1.88, and it will give the result for second one. So the second peak is around 649 millivolt. Okay, so yes, we are getting the same thing, and even we are getting its amplitude also. The first peak we are getting on 1 kilohertz, second peak we are getting on 3 kilohertz. Okay, if I change the signal type, again the corresponding values will be extracted from this graph. Actually we are extracting these details only using a extract multiple tone function. Okay, so these are the features. So we are going to do some changes. We are going to develop some logic to get a common feature for multiple frequency and amplitude. Why? Because if I change this frequency value, you can able to see it is changing everything in my features, right? So my code should work to determine a different signal with different frequencies and amplitude. Okay, so it should be flexible. Okay, so for that reason, what we'll do, right, we have to do some changes. So what I'll do is, let me stop this one. Okay, so we are not going to train this feature directly. We are going to do some more logic. Okay, so that will be, okay, so let me move this one. Yeah, so what I'm going to do, right, from this data, okay, so from this data, I'm going to separate a fundamental frequency. Fundamental frequency is nothing but actual signal frequency. Okay, so in your indicator, you can able to see my actual signal frequency is coming on 0th index. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to use index array function. Okay, so this index array function will help me to separate only the 0th index terminal. If you look at the indicator, right, you can clearly identify it is an cluster, array of cluster. Okay, inside the array we have a cluster that contains a 3 numeric. Okay, so here I need only the detected frequency. Okay, so that is my actual frequency. For that, I'm gonna use unbundle by name function. Let me give a label. Okay, so we'll get an idea. Yeah, so I have created a label, so I'll pass this information. Okay, so from this I have separated only the detected frequency. Okay, so now using this detected frequency and multiple tone information, right, I'm going to frame my feature. So what I'll do is I'm going to use a for loop. Okay, so using this for loop only, I'm going to create my feature, and here let me create a constant. I'm going to make this to run for 4 times. Okay, as I'm extracting 4 tones, right, I'm going to make this to run for 4 times. Okay, so each time I'm going to send each tone data. Okay, so this is an array, so I'm going to extract 4 tones. Okay, 4 tones information. Inside the loop, I'm going to send each tone data for each iteration. So that can be easily done with our auto indexing tunnel. Okay, so if I connect an auto indexing tunnel, right, so it will automatically pass as per our requirement. But as our sine waveform has a single tone, right, it will run only for 1 time. Okay, to avoid that, right now you are not going to use this indexing tunnel. So what I'll do is I'm gonna disable an auto indexing. I'm going to separate the data manually. Okay, so inside the loop, I'm going to use index array function. So my total tone, I'll pass it to index array function, and using I value, each iteration I'm going to extract each tone information. Again, from this I'm going to separate, I'll use unbundle by name again. Okay, let me enable its label. Yeah, so I'm going to separate a frequency of each and every tone. Okay, so I'm going to extract a frequency of each and every tone. So just what I'm going to do, right, I'm going to divide my detected frequency of each tone with my fundamental frequency. So here what we are getting, right, that is my fundamental frequency. Fundamental frequency is nothing but my actual signal frequency. Okay, so I'll get some feature from this. Okay, let me show you. I'll create an indicator here. Okay, so this is my frequency feature. Okay, so this is my frequency feature. Okay, so I'll come to front panel. So once if I run, you will get an idea. So why I have developed that logic. Okay, so if I run this, so now it is sawtooth, okay, sawtooth signal, you can able to see it is showing a frequency feature as 1, 2, 3, 4. Why? Because here I'm dividing my each tone's frequency with my fundamental frequency. Okay, so let me give some whole number. Let me give it as 1000. Okay, so my actual fundamental frequency is 1000, and in my first tone its detected frequency also 1000. So if I divide 1000 by 1000, right, I'll be getting a value 1, and the second detected frequency at 2000. Okay, so if I divide 2000 with my actual signal frequency, I'll be getting 2. So this feature will be common for any amplitude. Okay, if I vary amplitude also, this feature will not vary. If I vary the frequency also, so as I have crossed more than 5000, right, it is giving a different value. Why? Because my maximum sample I have given as 20,000. Okay, so if I increase the number of samples, this error will not come. Okay, so right now I can vary till, as I have given 20,000, right, I can vary till 2000. Till 2000 you will get a proper value. Okay, because if you want to get a proper multi-tone features, right, it should be 20 times greater than, okay, greater than your actual signal. So till 2000 it will work properly. If you want to make this to work for 10,000 also, right, only thing what you are supposed to do is just you need to increase the number of samples. Okay, now let me run this. Okay, so now you can able to see the frequency will not fluctuate. Okay, why? Because I have increased the number of samples, so I'll have more information to process it. Okay, so that is the reason before why we got a random value. Okay, fine. So if I change some signal, right, for sine it features will be like 1000, and for triangle it feature will be like 1357, and for sawtooth it will be like 1234, and for square it will be like 1357. Okay, the only problem is for sine and triangle we are getting the same feature. Okay, so as I already told you, we can't consider only a frequency feature for differentiating all these four signal. Why? Because while deploying, right, we might get output as, for triangle waveform we might get it as square. Okay, because both has the same feature. Okay, for a square we might get it as triangle waveform. So our model will not be accurate if we consider only this feature. So what we are going to do, right, I'm going to consider an amplitude also. Okay, so what I'm going to do, right, I'm going to repeat the same process to find the tone of amplitude for different detected tones. Okay, so the same thing. Okay, so let me move this logic little bit. Yeah, so yes, so what I'm going to do is, again I'm going to use uh, one more unbundled by name function. Okay, so instead of detect the fundamental frequency, here I'm going to detect fundamental amplitude. Okay, so again I'm going to use the for loop, the same logic, whatever the logic to calculate the feature of frequency, right, the same thing I'm going to repeat now. Okay, so create constant for. Okay, so again I need this data to pass inside the loop. That is my extracted feature data. Okay, so inside this I'll use index array. The same function. Okay, I'm not going to use any other function. The same function I'm going to use. Okay, so I'll use index array. Okay, again I need unbundled by name function. Okay, so here I need to choose detected amplitude. Okay, so let me divide this one with my amplitude of each tone. Let me move this a little bit down. Okay, with my fundamental amplitude. Okay, so again I'll create an indexing tile. I'll create an indicator for this. Okay, so here I'll give it as amplitude features. Okay, so yes, now we'll see its output. Okay, let me expand this one. Okay, I'll run this. You can able to see that value, it will vary, but it will not vary that much. Okay, the value in amplitude features, right, it will be very small for different amplitude or different frequency also. For a single signal type, it will not vary much, so you can use this feature for signal classification. Okay, if I try to change the signal type for some other signal, right, you can able to see the change in value, a huge change in a value. Okay, so here you can able to see value coming as 0.1, 0.03 and 0.02. For this, it is coming as 0.3, 0.19 and 0.14. Okay, the same way, if you vary, this feature value will have a very small change. There won't be a huge difference for a single signal. For a different signal, right, you can able to see the huge difference. Okay, so yes, so we have extracted the feature. Okay, the next step is I want to save this feature for each and every signal. Okay, before we are training this, I want to save this feature as a single file. Okay, so for that purpose, what I'm going to do, right, I'm going to use a CSV, comma separated value spreadsheet. Okay, so the very important thing is I want to save this feature along with my signal type. Signal type is nothing but a class. Okay, so you need to specify this feature is belongs to this signal only. Okay, that is a very important thing. Okay, so let me continue my logic for that. Okay, so yes, so what I'm going to do, right, here I'm going to use a build array to combine my feature with my signal. Okay, so let me take my build array. So I'll make this to have 3 inputs. Okay, so first input, okay, I'll take from signal type, that is the class. The feature correspond to which signal. Okay, let me put it here, or else let me move this little bit towards up. Yeah, fine. So this data I'll connect as a first input of my build array. Okay, and the second input I'm going to take from frequency. Okay, and the third input I'm going to take from amplitude. Okay, so now I have a single data which has a feature of a particular signal. Okay, so now I want to log this data, and I'll be having an option. I should have an option to select each signal. So what I'll do, right, I'm going to make this program to run continuously. Okay, using a while loop, I'm going to make this program to run continuously. Okay, so this feature I'm going to log. Okay, so what I'll do is directly I'm going to take right delimiter function, I'll place inside the loop. Okay, so this data I'll be connecting to 1D terminal. Okay, so this is an 1D data. Here what I'm getting, right, 1D data. This is a single element. Again here it is an 1D data. So as I have connected 1D data with a single element, right, by default concatenate input will be enabled. So output also will be in 1D only. So that is the reason why I have connected my data to 1D terminal. Okay, so the next thing what I am supposed to do is I have to append a file. Okay, by default it will overwrite it. Okay, so if I enable true to append to file terminal, right, instead of overwriting each signal features, I'll be appending those data. Okay, so I'll create a constant. This terminal is append to file terminal. Okay, so I'll make my Excel to append a file instead of overriding it. Okay, the next one, so I need to specify a file path. So I'll directly create a constant. Okay, I'll right click, I'll choose browse for path. Okay, so let me come to data and I'll create a new file, new folder as waveform classification. Okay, inside this I'll give a name as sample dot, I'm going to save in CSV extension, comma separated value. Let me press save. Okay, so as I'm saving as an CSV, right, I must need to specify the delimiter. So I'll create a constant. I'll give a delimiter as comma. Okay, we must need to specify this. Okay, so I have specified delimiter as comma. Why? Because the extension what I have given, right, that is CSV comma separated value. Okay, so let me minimize this one. Okay, fine. So here you can able to see right now my right function is just inside the while loop. So whenever each iteration execute, right, this right function also will execute. Okay, so it is like it will be keep on adding the features. Okay, so I don't want to do like that because it will increase my file size. So to avoid that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a case structure. Okay, so I'll use this logic inside a true case, and for the case selector terminal I'm going to create a control. I'll give a name as add feature. Okay, so to stop my code, let me create a control over here, and I don't want to run continuously. Okay, so I'll give some delay, okay, between each iteration, so it will avoid consuming 100% CPU usage. Okay, so I'll give delay as 100. Okay, so here you can see I have extracted the features. I have combined feature corresponding to signal. Those data I'm writing in CSV file. Okay, we'll see how this is working. Okay, let me go to front panel. Okay, so here this add feature button, right, let me check its mechanical action first. Okay, so right now it is in switch when released, so I don't want to keep this as switch when released, because if I keep as switch when released, that if I press, it will retain the value in true itself. Okay, so I want to save only one set of sample. So for that, what I can do, right, I can choose latch when released. Okay, so if I press only once, the data will get saved, then it will come back to the original state. Okay, so I'll run this. Okay, so right now it is extracting the feature for sawtooth. If I click add feature, right now we have added a feature for sawtooth. Okay, let me open and I'll show you the file. Okay, so next I'll go to square. I'm gonna click add feature again. Okay, right now I have added a feature for square. Then I'll go to triangle, add feature, then sine, add feature. Okay, I have added feature for all the 4 signal types. Okay, I'll press stop. Okay, so now if I come to waveform classification, right, inside this you can able to see there is a file as sample. Okay, if I open this one, okay, so we'll wait for some time. Yeah, so if I open this one, the first column, right, this is a class or is an index for each and every signal type. Okay, so this is just a class, or else it represents the signal type. Okay, so why you are getting as number? Because I'll open your front panel, you can able to see this signal type is an enum. Okay, if I go to edit items, right, you can able to see for each signal type it has an corresponding value only. I hope you remember, first I have saved sawtooth, then square, then triangle, and then sine waveform. That is the reason here you can able to see first I am getting my index as 3, then 2, 1 and 0. First the next 4 data is frequency features of each signal. Okay, so this is the signal and a feature of sine waveform. Okay, in the same way this row is a signal and feature of another waveform. Okay, so the first column has its class and the next 4 columns has its frequency features, and the last 4 column has a feature of another amplitude of features, okay, of each signal. Okay, so for your better understanding, what I'll do, right, I'll choose one more file. So now we'll get an idea. Okay, sample 1.csv. Let me click save. Now what I'm going to do, right, I'm going to log only 2 information. Okay, so let me can able to see the first one is sine waveform. Okay, so this will have 0 index, and square has an index of 2, right? So what I'm going to do is I'll run add a feature for sine. Next, I'm going to add a feature for square. Okay, so I have added feature only for two waveforms. Okay, now I'll open this file. You can able to see now I have classes as 0 and 2. Why? Because 0 is a value represents sine waveform. 2 is a value which represents a square waveform. Okay. To verify this feature, what I can do, right? I can open its front panel. Okay, so the frequency you can able to see 1357 for square. Okay, so square index is 2, its features will be 1357, and if I move this right, you can able to verify amplitude also. Here you can able to see 10.33, it has round up to a whole number. Okay, round up to near value, that is 0.2, and here it is 0.143. Okay, so yes, so now we have completed extracting the feature. Okay, we have completed the first stage. So yes, so let me check the comment box whether you have any doubt. Okay, else I can move to the next stage. From there, okay, this video. So which amplitude feature or value, how can we classify the signal type? Yeah, so I have already told you. So each signal will have its different amplitude at different tone. So with that we can easily classify it. Okay, why is the signal type is in blue color? Yeah, as there is an enum, right? We'll give for a user it will be looks like string, but the LabVIEW will understand as numeric only. That is the reason why. That is the reason it is coming in blue color. Okay. 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 Fine. Okay. Fine. I think so. Not as doubt. So let me move to the next stage. Okay. So the next step. The next step is training the pre-processed model. Okay, so in this again we have three stages. So right now we have logged the features, right? We have to read back those logged features. Okay, then we need to create a model. Okay, and the final step is we have to save the model. Okay, but the problem is using LabVIEW we can't able to save the model directly. So what we'll do, right, we'll convert the model into JSON file, then we'll save the JSON file in our system. Okay, so this will be the three stages will come in training a pre-processed sample. Okay, so I can directly move to the demonstration. Okay, so let me create a new VA. The first stage is I want to read those samples. Okay, as we know that is an CSV file. I'll go to file IO. I'll choose read delimiter spreadsheet function. Okay, for file path, as I know where my file exists, right, I can create a file path constant. I can choose browse for path. So the sample which has a features of all the signals. Okay, so I'll choose a sample. Okay, and as this is a CSV file, I need to specify a delimiter. I'll specify the delimiter as comma. Okay, so right now first I'll visualize the value in LabVIEW, so then we'll proceed with our code. Okay, so yes, if I run this, let me move this little bit over here. You can able to see the first column has our data, that is my signal class, and then remaining all columns are features. Okay, so the first column actually are a class and the remaining columns are our features. So first thing what you're supposed to do is I want to separate my class with I want to separate my class from my features. Okay, for that we can use some array logic. Okay, so I'll go with a delete from array function. I'm gonna use this logic. Okay, so I'll connect my data. So here I know my classes is in my first column, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete only the first column. So I'm going to create a constant as 0 for column index. Okay, so by default length will be 1. So from 0th column index we are going to delete a 1 column. Okay, so if I create indicator now, so this will be the deleted portion. I'll enable the label, and this will be, sorry, create indicator. So this will be my
Mac Fry আহিছে নেকি? গাখীৰ আহিছে হ'বলা?
features, and this is my classes. Okay, so yes, let me expand vertically so you'll get a clear picture. Okay, if you run this in your classes, you can able to see it has the value corresponding to each signal. In feature I have only the features of each signal. Okay, so you can able to see each. So in your class, zeroth index has a value 3. That means in your 2-dimension data, 0th index row represents the features of 0th index element in your class. Okay, so your data should be like that. Then only it can able to train properly. So fine. So this is how we are going to extract the data. Okay, so now we'll move to the training stage. So for that we are going to, from now we are going to use a LabVIEW function, machine learning functions. Okay, so I'll right click. So let me move that you can able to see analytical and machine learning functions. Okay, we are going to use this toolkit only. Okay, let me pin this one. Okay, I don't want to open this, sorry, I don't want to open this palette continuously. So what I'll do, right, I'm gonna pin this palette. Okay, so first thing what you're supposed to do is I want to load this data to my model. Okay, so for that I'll go to data. Here you can able to see load data function. This should be my first function. So here we'll be having two options, whether it is training or deployment. Right now I'm going to train my model. Okay, so let it be training, and I will check other terminals also. Okay, the other terminals will be your data. Okay, that is your required terminal. Data is nothing but your features. Okay, so this is my feature terminal. I can directly connect it to data. And the second terminal you can able to see data label. So data label is nothing but your classes. So I'll give a classes to this terminal. Okay, so I have feeded my feature corresponding to other labels. Okay, next thing is you need to specify the load data mode. So let me create a constant for this. So here you must need to specify whether you are feeding the raw data. Hello, whether it is connected now. Hello, can you hear me? Whether it is audible for you people? Still it is loading. Please confirm this. Okay. I think so it is audible, right? Yes, fine. So yes, we have initialized
Mac
our
Rice.
classifier model. Okay, so next stage is we have to train our model. Okay, so let me take this train model function. Okay, so here I'll just pass the, okay, we don't want to do anything else. Okay, just we need to pause the reference, like which method I'm going to use. And to pause the reference of training data, I'll take a reference from load data. Okay, from this I'll take a reference. Okay, so this wire will determine which data I'm going to train, and this wire will determine which method I'm going to use for training. Okay, so this function will help me to create a machine learning model. Okay, machine learning train model. Okay, so we have completed our first stage. Okay, the second stage is I want to convert a model to JSON file. Okay, we can't, as I already told you, we can't able to save a model directly, right? So what I'll do is I'll convert this model to JSON. So for that I have a sub VA. Okay, so let me choose select a VA, waveform identification. So here you can able to see save model to JSON. Okay, let me select this. I'm gonna use it here. Okay, so just I pass its reference. Okay, so I'll connect the error wire also between each and every function. Yes, so now my model has been converted to JSON. So now we can easily save our JSON file. For that, what I can do, right? JSON is again it is a string data type only, so I can directly use write text file function. Okay, so the output you can able to see JSON string. I can directly pass it over my function. So again, I'm gonna create a constant for file path. I'm gonna create a new file. So I'll choose browse for path classification. Okay, so here I'll give it as trained sample. Okay, I'll give a name as trained sample.json. Okay, so as we are saving a JSON file, right, we must have to give a JSON. Okay, yes, so here we are not going to give any other input. So we are reading the file. Okay, we are separating feature and class, and we are feeding our feature and class to our load data function. Okay, then we need to train. Okay, so to train function I need to feed the data, so I'm feeding the data through load data function. And the second thing is I need to specify which method I'm going to use for training. So here we are going to use a logarithmic regression. So I have initialized with logarithmic regression, and I have passed it reference to train classifier model. Okay, so this function will train my data and it will return the model. Okay, so here we need to save our model. Here we need to save our model, but we can't able to save a ML model directly. So that is the reason we are using save model to JSON function. So this will convert my model to string data type. So now we can easily save our model in JSON data type. Okay, so let me run this. Okay, so it has read the file. Let me check whether it has been created or not. Okay, yes, here you can able to see it has created one file, that is trained sample.json. Okay, so fine. So till now we have completed our training part. Okay, so we have another 30 minutes only, so I feel we can't able to do deployment. So I'll summarize the today's session. Okay, so Yes. The first one we have seen object tracking, just in a demo. We have already developed the code. So I'll directly switch to our feature extraction of our signal classification. Sorry. Yeah. So here it is. Okay. So the first we have generated the signal. Okay. So we have specified more number of frequencies, so I can able to classify the signal for multiple variable frequencies. Okay, that's why we have given a more number of samples and a sampling frequency. So next we have used extract multi-tone information function to extract it features. Okay, so here actually I need 4 tones, that's why I have given 4. If you want a more feature, right, you can able to increase this value. Okay, so using this function we are going to extract its features, and here this threshold determines what should be the amplitude value to consider that as a feature. Okay, so if the amplitude value is less than 0.0001, right, that value will be not considered as tone. So for a better result we'll go for very minimum threshold only, then only we can able to identify the features. Okay, so here you can able to see we are getting a frequency, amplitude and phase of each tones. Okay, so the same way this is for first tone and second one, third one and fourth tone. Okay, so we are getting a feature of each tones. Okay, the problem is I can't able to feed this value directly. Why? Because this value will vary for each frequency and each amplitude. That is the reason we have developed a logic with the help of our fundamental frequency and amplitude correspond to the tone frequency and amplitude. Okay, so we are dividing our tone frequency with a fundamental frequency. In the same way we are dividing our tone amplitude with a fundamental amplitude to extract the features. Okay, so here we have features of frequency and features of amplitude. So now I want to save these features along with its class. Okay, that is the reason here we have build array function. So in build array function I have connected the first input, I have connected my signal type. Okay, this will help me to identify the class. Okay, next I'm adding 2 features. Okay, I'm writing 2 and CSV file. Okay, whenever I click add features, right, I'm going to save the signal along with the frequency. So once if you have added a feature for all the 4 signals, right, we can stop. Okay, so we can we can stop running this code for extracting the feature. So this will be the stage 1 of signal classification. Okay, the stage 2 will be or training the extractor features. Okay, so in this, first you need to read your sample what you have logged in your extract feature VI. Okay. it's audible now. Hello. Yeah, I think so. Now it is audible. So let me summarize this one completely. Okay. So yes. So here we are reading our file. Okay. So this file will contain both feature as well as class. Okay. So we can't able to feed this data directly. So I want to separate my class from the feature. That is the reason here we are using delete from array function. Okay. So here I'm separating only the zeroth column. Why? Because if you see this file, we have only we have labels in zeroth column only. So if I delete zeroth column, right, that data I can able to take it in separate indicator. The features I can able to take it in separate indicator. So that is the thing what we have did actually. Okay. So next I want to load this data to my network. That is a ML network. Okay. So the feature terminal I have connected to data, and the class I have connected to data label. Okay. As this is an user extracted feature, right, you must need to choose apply feature manipulation. Okay. If you are processing the raw data, right, then we can go for read raw data, but actually we have completed feature extraction, so we must need to choose apply feature manipulation. Okay. So we have loaded our data for training. So the next thing is we need to choose which method we are going to use for training. So here we are using logarithmic regression. So just I have initialized with the function. So next I want to train those data. Okay. So once after training, right, that will create a model. The problem is we can't able to save the model directly. So that is the reason we are converting a model to JSON, and we are saving as a JSON file. As JSON is also a string data type, right, we can directly use write to text file function to save the JSON file. Yes. So today we have completed till training part. Okay. So tomorrow will be continued with a deployment. Today we have completed training, right? So we'll go to the third stage, that is the deployment of this model for classifying the signal. Okay. So before I'm winding up the session, right, let me check whether you have any doubts. If you have any doubt, right, you can ask in comment box. Uh, where do we get load data? So if you want to get these functions, right, you need to install analytical and machine learning toolkit. We'll share you the links. Okay. So you can install those toolkit. Once if you install the toolkit, right, you will get the function. So that function you can take, if you right click, there you can able to see analytical and machine learning toolkit. There you can able to see data. Okay. There you can find load data function. Then these two function, initialize classifier model, logarithmic regression, and train classification model, right, those two function also from the same palette, but you need to go to classification subpalette. In classification subpalette you can able to see initializing model for logarithmic regression and training a model. Okay. Fine. Let me check the command. So that is not an built-in function. We'll share you that subway also. Okay. So JSON model to JSON, right, that is ML model to JSON, right, that is not an built-in function. So we'll share you that subway also. Okay. Okay. We'll share you the materials. Okay. So what we are doing on second stage. So in second stage, with the help of feature, we have completed training our model. Okay, so with the help of that model only, we are going to classify it. So that is the, we are actually we have completed training our machine. Okay, so that is the thing we are doing in the second stage. So the JSON sub VI will share with you. So as this is an introduction for our machine learning, right, it will be a little bit confusing. So we'll see some more example with the same supervised technique. So we'll get a better idea. Okay. So if you have any doubt regarding these topics, right, you can ask. So if you have, if you don't have any doubts, right, we can wind up the session. So if you have any doubts, you can comment in the comment box, so I can clarify your doubts. So in tracking concept, if you want to get audio to video in LabVIEW, no, actually that is a concept of image processing. Okay, so we can't get audio, we can't able to extract audio from an AVI files. If you want to do that, right, we have to install some other toolkits. Okay, so that is not possible only with AVI function. Okay, so that is only to grab the picture information, not an audio information. That is not possible with the AVI function. Okay. In the first part. Okay, so if we divide, right, then only we can able to uh, extract the feature. That is the reason why we have divided frequency and amplitude from our fundamental frequency. You can take any other features also. Okay, so right now I have taken frequency and amplitude as a feature, right? Instead of that, you can take a phase also and frequency. That is only depend upon the user who is creating the model. Okay, so JSON, again it is a type, a string data type. Okay, so yes, I feel you don't have any other doubt. So what is logarithmic regression? There is a type of a supervised learning algorithm. Can we track image in another video? I'm not getting properly. So you can, so I feel like you are asking whether we can give some other AVI file. Yes, if the object will continuously available in your AVI video, right, you can able to track it. So how do we choose fundamental frequency and amplitude? Fundamental frequency and amplitude is nothing but the frequency and amplitude at which the signal what you are generating. Okay, so better I can show you here. So here you can able to see, let me run this, so I'll get an idea. Okay, so let me put it as 1000 and amplitude, let me set it as 1. Okay, if I run, you can able to see here I'm generating at 101, right? So your fundamental frequency will be 100, amplitude it is not 1, I feel. So Yeah, so whatever the amplitude I'm getting, right, here you'll be getting it in RMS. Okay, so here you'll get the amplitude in RMS. So whatever the amplitude and frequency what you are generating, right, that is your fundamental frequency and amplitude. So where do we use the signal classification in practical application? Think that you want to identify the noise, okay, in your signal. In those applications, right, you can use these techniques. Okay, where did we get a JSON file? There is a sub VI that will share you. Okay, those functions will share you. How will